Hello and welcome to a tutorial from Colour with Claire. Earlier on this week I put some gems on my favourite gem group, Gem Hose, on Facebook, and it got a really good response and everybody wanted to know how I did it. So these are watercolour gems. This is just obviously me messing about, practicing with different colours. This isn't the finished thing. But this is basically what they are. So I'm going to be using watercolour pens that react with water. These can be, well, I'm using Spectrum Noir Aqua pens, but you could use Tombos and anything really that's water based. So what you will need, most important thing actually, is some proper watercolour paper. It's not going to work on most different types of paper. As you can see, I tried to do one here on one of these cards that I use for my gems, and it just wouldn't melt together, it wouldn't blend. So it definitely depends on what kind of paper you're using to get a really good result with these. And the one I'm using is the Spectrum Noir Premium Watercolour Pad. It's 300 GSM, so it's really thick and it's got a really beautiful watercolour tooth on the top, and that is what does all the work. So definitely use this kind of paper. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use my little cheat template to draw out a quick gem shape. So I'm going to be using my Spectrum Noir art liner because it is permanent and it doesn't react with any water or anything like that, and I'm going to use size 8. So I'm just going to do some little gems to practice. Obviously you can do these in any shape that you like. I just like ovals. Now which one did I use for that? That one. So oval and another oval around it for the setting. Let's do 3. I like to do things in 3s. That's my magic number. Okay, so we've got 3 gem settings there ready to go. Now I've also chosen 3 different types of colour palettes. The first one I'm going to start with is the red violet, peacock blue and bud green. Now these Spectrum Aqua pens are specifically made to react with water, obviously, so this is what they're made for, this is what they work best at. And I'm going to be using the brush end, but there is a finer end if you have any little tight spaces that you want to get in, because you'll probably want to do it a bit neater than I'm going to do it. So what I always do first is start off with the mid colour, which is going to be the red violet. And it's basically being really random with the colour. So random splotches of colour all in the gem. But do remember where you're keeping your light source. So if the light source is coming in from this side's going to be darkest, so we'll save that for our blue. I then go in with the bud green, do lots of little green accents here because that's the colour that's going to stand out the most. But just making sure that you are leaving some room for the blue. And as you can see, I'm going to put quite a bit over this side to darken it up. And just filling in anything that's left. See, I've gone over the lines, you'll probably be a lot more precise than me. But if you find that there are bits of white in the gem still, don't worry about it because it's all going to bleed and blend together in a moment anyway. So what you're also going to need is either a paintbrush and water or an aqua brush. I prefer to work with an aqua brush because it's just easier. So we start off now with the lightest colour. We make sure that our brush is nice and juicy with water. And we basically just paint the water onto all the green patches. So we're not actually working with the green, we're not pushing it anywhere or anything like that, we're literally just applying water to it. So make sure you've got a piece of scratch paper just to wipe your brush between colours. Then we're going with the next colour, which is pink, or the red violet rather. And again, adding water to that, just to that. Now you may find that the edges do blur and bleed, and that's fine. That's exactly what we're trying to go for in the end, so no worries there. But if you do happen to get any blue, for instance, when you're doing the green, you will just need to wipe your brush off because we don't want to muddy any colours too much. And now I'm going over the blue. Until everything is pretty much saturated with water and it all starts to bleed and blend together. Now when you've achieved that, you can still notice that a lot of the patches of colour that we've put down are quite separate from each other, and we want it to look a little bit more blended. So we just go to the edges of the colours that we want to move around and just mess about with them really, just drag them out a little bit. Just very lightly blot them so that a bit more water gets on there, and the paper's doing all the work really. Well, obviously the pens matter, but the paper is what is enabling these to merge together. And eventually you'll get this sort of marbled look. It's very quick, as you can tell. This is all real time. It's really super easy, anyone can do it. And as we just wait for that to dry, I'll move on to the next set of colours that I've chosen, which are rose pink, sunflower and magenta. So again, we start with our middle colour, which is the rose pink, and we're just laying that in all different places on the gem. So as you can see, really, really random, and lots of place to put this sunflower yellow. Try and keep your lightest colour over this side if that's where your light source is coming from, because obviously we want this to be the darkest edge. And then our magenta, which we'll put all down here, keep it nice and dark. And fill in all the blank spots. So we get the water brush and go over the lightest colour, which is the yellow. Then we'll wipe it off and go to the next lightest colour, which is the rose pink. Just adding water, not doing anything with it at the moment, just saturating it so that it naturally bleeds into each other. And then our darkest colour, the magenta. So again, if you've got any separate areas that you just want to drag out a little bit, make it look a bit more blended, do that now. Until you're happy with the overall look of the gem. It will dry slightly different from how it looks now, but that's fine. And then the third lot of colours, whoopsie daisy, is the sea green, aquamarine. I'm back with the peacock blue. So we'll start off again with our middle colour, which is the aquamarine. Random areas. Lightest colour, sea green. Keeping it quite light over this side. I've got a little bit of brush coming off there. And then the peacock blue. So for third and final time, you go in on your lightest colour, saturate it with water. Wipe the brush and onto the aquamarine. and then the peacock blue. As you can see, as soon as you add water to the spots that are dry, it starts to blend into everything that we've already wetted. And you can just drag it around until you get it how you want it. I think I'm going to leave it pretty much like that. And I'll be back when it's dried to show you the next step. Okay, so all three gems are dry now, and as you can see they look a little bit different to when they were wet because they've obviously dried and merged together a little bit more. Now, we did mention about keeping it dark around the edge, which is opposite to where the light comes in. This one's okay. Might just add a little bit more colour to these, which you can do. So what I'm going to do is go in with the peacock blue here, just a little bit around this edge, and then use our water brush or paintbrush, again just to go over it and blend it into what we've already done. Now, I don't want any water lines, so just making sure that it is all blended out as well as it can be. And then on this one we'll go in with the magenta. Just to deepen that edge a little bit more. This is optional, all depends how they've turned out after you've done them. They're all going to be different, every single one is unique. So when you're happy with how they look, you can go in with your white gel pen and do your highlights. So I can just see some water lines appearing on here. I'm going to try and brush these out, but you know what, it doesn't matter that much because you can always put cracks in these stones as well, which will hide any water lines or any imperfections that you don't want to see, so I'll probably do that. But as for highlights, just make sure that your gel pen is flowing and add in. It's quite difficult to keep my hands straight while these are wet. Just add in a white highlight wherever your light source is. That's gone a little bit thick, but I can always remedy that afterwards when it's dry. And also, if you do your highlight and it goes like the colour of the gem underneath, you just wait for it to dry and go over it again, maybe 2 or 3 times with your white gel pen, and that will eventually stay a very bright white. So we're following the curve of the gem. Maybe do a few little dots at the end for light. You can do your highlights however you prefer doing them. So that is the basis of the watercolour gem. Now what you can do if you have gone over the lines like me is take a trusty silver gel pen, which is completely opaque, and it will cover up any imperfections where you've gone out of the lines. It looks obviously more like a jewel that's in a jewellery setting when you add either silver or gold on the outside. So while I'm doing this, the adjustments that we've made will be drying. And as soon as we've done that, we can hopefully add some cracks and things into the gem. So it's something really easy to do for people who often make lots of mistakes, although there's no mistakes in art, of course. But if you do make those imperfections, you can always cover them up with something. So we can do our going out of the lines with this silver gel pen, and we can go over any watermarks or places that we don't like how they've turned out with cracks. Again, I'm doing this really quickly. I'm not very precise at all, but you will be hopefully when you do yours. Take a little bit more time than I'm afforded on this video. Okay, so I'm going to take a Spectrum Noir art liner in size 01 and add in some cracks. Okay, I've moved that now. Let me just check I'm still on camera. Yep. So these again are really random. It's all about randomness with gems. There's never symmetry or perfect lines. It really is just a shake of the hand, and wherever the line goes, let it go. And that's what looks most natural. So you can have some of them joining together. It really is up to you how you want to do it. I think that's enough. You might not be able to see that perfectly on camera, but it's there and it's not too black. You don't want it to look like it's on top. You want it to look like it's inside. So here you can hopefully see we've got a waterline that's appeared down here where we just added some bits, and that is a perfect natural zigzag for our cracks. Again, try not to keep your lines too straight or uniform in any way. They should look really natural and organic. You can make some areas of the lines thicker than others, just for variation. Totally up to you. Trying very hard not to smudge the blue. Again, the waterline has formed, so I'm just going to use the cracks to disguise it. Don't worry about going over your highlight. You can go over that as many times as you want with the white gel pen, as long as it's fairly opaque. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. You just do what you feel looks best, and you can have a few practice goes with it. And there we go, I think I'm happy with that. So I'll obviously be going around all of them with my silver gel pen or gold, or any kind of colour or setting that you like. It's all up to you. I hope you've enjoyed looking at how to do some watercolour gems with the Spectrum Noir Aqua pens. Don't forget to always use your watercolour paper if possible, it gives the best result. And leave any comments below, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.